First off, I want to thank you all for the amazing support you've shown to the podcast. If you enjoy listening podcast summaries, please consider subscribing channel. Here is a rundown on the manifestation expert. If I was broke today, this is what I'd do, featuring David Ghiyam by Lewis Howes.
David Ghiyam, a money manifestation expert, shares his insights on how to create a step-by-step process from going from broke to millionaire and beyond. He emphasizes that hard work is essential, but it's not just about the physical effort. It's about hitting all 4 quadrants that the Kabbalists explain. These quadrants include spiritual work, physical work, certainty, and prayer. David explains that spiritual work is about transforming the spiritual baggage, fears, and limitations that we came into this world with. This is done by identifying and working on the qualities that don't exist in the Creator, such as fear, jealousy, and weakness. He uses the analogy of a puzzle to illustrate that we were created with darkness so that we could have the free will to choose to remove it. The first quadrant, spiritual work, is about transforming our negative qualities, such as doubt, anger, and judgment. David emphasizes that doubt is a key quality that prevents us from entering the miracle zone. He explains that certainty is not about being certain that things will work out, but rather about trusting that everything is good and that we are whole and complete right now. If someone doesn't feel whole or complete and doesn't trust that they are in the right position, they will enter a different destiny. David uses the analogy of a GPS to illustrate that if we don't operate on the vibration of the Creator, we will take a longer route to our destination and may even experience pain and suffering along the way. He explains that there are 2 ways to stop smoking, for example. We can proactively choose to break the addiction, or we can wait until we're forced to change due to negative consequences. He encourages us to be sensitive to the things that we need to change and to make proactive changes to avoid being pushed to change by the universe. The conversation highlights the importance of spiritual work in manifesting abundance and wealth. David's insights offer a unique perspective on how to create a step-by-step process to achieve financial success and how to overcome the obstacles that prevent us from reaching our full potential. What units for me? Them they enemies, drinking brokers, da, view them as the. He notes that the Creator often uses these individuals to awaken us to areas where we need to change. Ignoring or dismissing their feedback can lead to missing out on valuable growth opportunities. Instead, David suggests taking a step back, acknowledging the truth in their words, and exploring how to release any negative patterns or behaviors. The conversation then shifts to the concept of certainty, which David believes is the foundation of the spiritual quadrant. He explains that certainty is the consciousness that removes negativity, creates happiness, and vibrates infinite universes. When someone is in doubt or uncertain, they're blocking their ability to create abundance and manifest their desires.
Lewis Howes adds that this is why people who are wealthy but uncertain may still struggle with feelings of scarcity and anxiety.
David shares an analogy about a vessel that can't hold a large amount of water, illustrating how money can amplify problems if the individual isn't prepared to handle it. He notes that when energy comes to a vessel that can't hold it, chaos ensues. This is why some people may struggle with wealth, even if they've worked hard to achieve it. The discussion turns to the idea that money can't solve all problems, and that true fulfillment comes from within. David shares a personal story about creating a trust for his children, highlighting the importance of having a vessel that can hold wealth and energy. He emphasizes that simply giving someone a large sum of money can be detrimental, as it can amplify their problems and create chaos.
Lewis Howes asks how someone can get certainty when faced with multiple options and conflicting advice from others.
David responds by sharing his own approach to manifesting prosperity, which involves focusing on 1 or 2 key areas and going deep into them. He notes that dividing attention among multiple projects or opportunities can dilute focus and reduce the vibration of manifestation. David also shares a strategy for dealing with uncertainty, which involves acknowledging the situation as good even if it feels challenging. By doing so, he believes that individuals can establish a connection to the miraculous realm of the light of the Creator, which can illuminate the right path forward. He emphasizes the importance of prayer, spiritual work, and building one's vessel to merit the answer from the universe. He explains that these quadrants are interconnected and that neglecting one area can hinder progress in others. For instance, if someone is working hard physically but neglecting their spiritual growth, they may not see the desired results. David emphasizes the importance of prayer, which he defines as a technology to transform one's vessel. He shares that he prays throughout the day, even in moments of pause, to ensure that his words and actions align with his intention. He also believes that every action, including eating and sleeping, can be a form of prayer if done with the right intention. David explains that certainty is a vibration that needs to be cultivated, and that it's essential to reprogram one's body and mind to focus on the positive. When it comes to physical work, David stresses the importance of exercise and sleep. He believes that exercise is a spiritual process that helps to cleanse the body of negativity, and that sleep is a time for the soul to recharge and cleanse itself. David shares that he struggles with the spiritual quadrant, particularly when faced with abundance and momentum. He acknowledges that it's easy to get distracted and lose focus on what's truly important. He reminds himself that his family and spiritual work are his top priorities, and that he needs to constantly rebalance to stay on track.
Lewis Howes reflects on the conversation, noting that David's approach is not about teaching financial strategies or business tactics, but rather about creating self-awareness and understanding one's spiritual vessel.
He emphasizes that without fertile soil, it's challenging to grow and expand, and that David's 4 quadrants provide a framework for cultivating that soil. These areas are spiritual practice, certainty, physical well-being, and financial stability. If someone's successful on the outside but neglecting these areas, they'll suffer on the inside. To achieve balance, David emphasizes the importance of having a spiritual practice, being certain that everything is working out for one's good, and taking care of one's physical body. Once these foundations are in place, one can focus on making money and achieving financial stability. However, David notes that when someone is connected to their spiritual practice and living a balanced life, they'll start to receive divine inspiration and ideas. They'll be in the right place at the right time, and everything will work out. David also discusses the importance of authenticity and energy in content creation. He believes that people can see through superficial advice, and that the next generation of influencers will be those who transmit energy, certainty, and spirituality through their content. He notes that trying to be perfect is not the goal, but rather having a desire to grow and improve. David shares his own struggles with the need for validation and how it can be a major obstacle to achieving one's goals. He recalls a time when he was teaching seminars and felt exhausted and drained by the constant need for validation from his audience. His mentor, Michael Berg, told him that he was taking validation from his audience rather than giving them true wisdom. David realizes that to truly serve others, he needs to let go of his need for validation and focus on giving without expectation of reward. He notes that this is a key principle of Kabbalah, and that it's essential to understand the balance between giving and receiving in life. Ultimately, David's goal is to reach a wider audience and share his wisdom with others. But he knows that he needs to continue to work on himself and his own spiritual growth to achieve this goal. David's biggest fear is not being able to expand his vessel to service a larger audience and not being able to reach the people he feels called to serve. He's aware that he needs to continue to work on his own spiritual growth and let go of his need for validation to truly make a positive impact on the world. He explains that there are 2 vessels inside of us that receive, a linear vessel and a circular vessel. This is how most people operate, constantly seeking validation and feeling good, only to have it wear off and need it again.
Lewis Howes asks David to elaborate on how to make this shift, and David explains that it's about wanting it and being willing to let go of the need for validation from others. He shares that he invoices the Creator when he does something for someone rather than looking for validation from the person. This means that when someone compliments him or thanks him, he pauses and recalibrates himself to focus on the Creator rather than letting his ego inflate him.
David also shares a story about having dinner with Adam Neumann, the founder of WebWork, and his wife Rebecca D. Adam shared with David the importance of staying grounded and connected to his spirituality, mentors, and relationships, especially his romantic partnership with Mary Ruth. Adam emphasized the need to remember the intention of why David is teaching his wisdom, which is to help people connect with the light of the Creator, not to build his personal brand.
Lewis Howes asks David how he builds a personal brand without losing himself in the desire for validation from his community or audience.
David admits that he's struggling with this and doesn't have all the answers, but he's praying and asking for guidance every day. He believes that being around good people who will call him out and keep him grounded is essential. David also shares that he's learned from Adam's experience, who had a massive success with WebWork, but then faced a huge crash. Adam attributed his downfall to the validation he received from being on the cover of magazines, which inflated his ego and led to his demise. David reflects on how he would approach being on the cover of magazines or having his face plastered on billboards. And he acknowledges that it's a delicate balance between spreading a message of light and love and not letting his ego get the best of him. He believes that it's essential to stay humble and connected to the Creator, rather than seeking validation from others. He emphasizes the importance of planting a seed now to ensure he can handle the success and blessings that are coming his way.
Lewis Howes points out that if you desire something, it will happen, and the momentum is already there.
David Ghiyam agrees, stating that he sees and feels things that are destined to happen, and it's just a matter of when.
Lewis Howes asks David Ghiyam what the Creator would need to say to him to prevent his ego from taking over when success and fame come his way.
David Ghiyam responds that he needs to connect with a feeling of being broken and appreciative, but still happy and giving. He realizes that he needs to take more time to build this feeling and consciousness, rather than just focusing on manifesting things and making money.
Lewis Howes shares a story about a pastor who takes a month off every year to recharge, even when his church is thriving.
David Ghiyam notes that it's hard to take time off when you're in the midst of momentum, but it's necessary to recalibrate and prevent crashing.
Lewis Howes emphasizes the importance of taking care of your health, relationships, and spiritual well-being, even when things are going well.
David Ghiyam points out that many people talk about how to make it, but few discuss how to hold on to success and sustain it.
Lewis Howes agrees, stating that it's about being circular, not linear, and creating a foundation that can hold the abundance that's coming.
David Ghiyam shares his fear of losing himself in the momentum and forgetting the spiritual practices that got him there.
Lewis Howes asks David Ghiyam what he needs to do to recreate the vessel that will hold his future success.
David Ghiyam responds that he needs to take time to reconnect with the feeling of being broken and appreciative, and to build that consciousness. He notes that it's hard to do this proactively, but it's necessary to prevent crashing. The conversation turns to the topic of validation and appreciation.
Lewis Howes shares a personal story about being a people pleaser and needing validation from others.
David Ghiyam suggests that instead of looking for validation from people, you should invoice the Creator and trust that they will provide what you need.
Lewis Howes notes that this means letting go of resentment and trusting that the Creator will bring you everything you need.
David Ghiyam explains that people are programmed not to give to those who feel entitled or expect something in return. However, when you trust the Creator and don't expect anything from people, they are more likely to want to give to you.
Lewis Howes summarizes the key takeaways from the conversation, including not looking for validation from people, invoicing the Creator, and trusting that they will provide what you need. One of the key takeaways from their discussion was the importance of being open to receiving guidance and wisdom.
David emphasized that the Creator wants to give us everything, but we have to be willing to listen and receive it. He explained that the Creator's perspective is like that of a parent to a child, wanting to provide everything and avoid suffering. However, our souls have a celestial contract with the Creator, which means we have to take responsibility for our own growth and learning. David encouraged listeners to take one action step to support themselves in the 4 keys of their life. Spiritual. He also suggested taking an action step to move from a linear vessel to a circular vessel in life.
Lewis expressed his gratitude for David's wisdom and encouraged listeners to share their thoughts and takeaways from the conversation.
David's message was clear. If there's one thing that resonates with you, move into that fear or pain. Say thank you and lean into it.
David's website and social media handles were shared, and Lewis announced his new book, Make Money Easy, which is all about creating financial freedom. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, and just remember, subscription is only £1 or $1 per month. Leave a comment or review. Until next time, happy listening.